Have you ever wondered why the Trump administration is so keen on sanitizing American history? Let me take you back to Portugal in the 1930s to explain how effective that can be. One of the tools that allowed António Salazar to remain the dictator of Portugal for 36 years was his use of history as a weapon of control. Something that he did so efficiently that Portugal as a nation hasn't been able to shake it off until today. He established the Ministry of Education in 1936, and this Ministry of Education had several characteristics. It was highly centralized, access to it was limited to elites, imbued the ideas of the fascist regime, of Catholic morality, of nationalism, of subservience to the patriarchal institution of the family that in itself was a microcosm of the state as the father of all citizens. It was a system meant to imbue you with the idea of subservience, specifically subservience to hierarchical structure. Due to its current geopolitical irrelevance, Portugal doesn't get enough recognition for the damage that its actions did in the world during its period of expansion. This is not just external, it's internal as well. Because the history of Portugal, like I said, was manipulated in a way that kept us all in the dark. It was a history of reassurance that meant to instill in the Portuguese citizens the sense of a continuity from the foundation of Portugal to the days of the dictatorship. It was a history that was meant to focus and emphasize the importance of Catholicism, the glories of its empire, the gifts that Portugal in this glorious past had given to the world. By reframing colonial practices of plunder, of piracy, and the establishment of the horrible institution of the transatlantic slave trade by Portugal, as well as the ideological foundations that chattel slavery was appropriate for black people because of the supposed savagery of people who hold the same phenotype, something that every single black British woman, every time that she has to go and give birth to hospitals in the UK, still feels the impact on, because they die at 5 times the rate as white women, because no one believes that black people feel pain properly, into a benevolent, divinely ordained, civilizing mission to the world. And like I said, it was so skillfully done that we swallowed it hook, line, and sinker. I was born in the 1980s in Portugal, and I was still taught under these parameters. Until 2003, the most famous historian in Portuguese television was José Armando Saraiva, a guy who was an ex-education minister of the fascist regime. The inability of Portuguese people to deal with their own history has its roots there. It's one of the reasons why in this day in which we should be celebrating the end of the dictatorship, there is a fascist party in Portugal that still harkens back to this supposedly glorious history. When you hear people say that they want to mess with the way that history is taught, pay attention. All they want is to control you.